All right, so here we've been given two functions in the form of graphs. We don't know the formulas for them. You could probably figure them out if you thought about it, but we really don't need to. We've got our parabola here in red, which is our function g of x, and we've got our straight line in blue, which is our function f of x. So if we want to evaluate and see what g of -4 is, we're going to say, okay, I'm going to go over here to -4. There's -4. And I'm going to go up or down and see where my graph is. What's my y coordinate of the graph there? And it turns out that this one is 6. And we're going to do the same thing with f of 1. So we'll say, let's change colors. We'll do purple. Okay, so f of 1, I'm going to go over to 1. And I'm going to look for my blue graph, which is my f graph, right here. And so my y coordinate there is 3. Okay, and then we can even do this so that we can add or subtract or multiply functions this way. And let's see, we'll go with this burgundy thing. So f of -1. So we're going to say, okay, let's see if I go to -1 down to the blue function. That looks like that's -1. And g of -1, we're going to go to the same place and go further down to get to the g function. That looks like -3. So -1 plus -3, -4. Don't make these harder than they are, okay? So, this function, talking really briefly about one-to-one functions. Function is one-to-one if each output corresponds to exactly one input. So this means no repeated x values or y values, okay? So this is like using the vertical line test, which checks for repeated x values, and the horizontal line test, which is going to check for repeated y values. So we'll write that, checks for repeated x values. And the horizontal line test works just the same way, only it's a horizontal line instead of a vertical. So that's going to checks for repeated y values. So if we look at this list here, we say, okay, I got a 3, a 5, and a 7. So it is a function. But is it one-to-one, which I'm going to write as 1-1. And we're going to say, well, you know, it looks like I've got repeated values here, right? I got a 1 and a 1 and a 1. So it is not one-to-one because the y value of 1 is repeated. Okay. Then we've got our good old function over here. So same kind of story. We already know it's a function, right? Yes, because it passes the vertical line test, right? We had no problem with that. We saw that one earlier. But is it one-to-one? Well, can I draw a horizontal line? So horizontal line so that it intersects and have it intersect the graph in more than one spot. If it intersects in more than one spot, it is not one-to-one. And this one obviously has some problems with that. So I should have drawn here, like giving you an example. So here, let's make this in red. So we've got ourselves a parabola, and the idea of the horizontal line test. So we already know this one, it's a function. It passes the vertical line test. But the horizontal line test, we're going to say, can I draw any horizontal line through this graph? And even one of them, if it's only one, not going to be one-to-one. So here, because each one of these is hitting the graph in two places, this is not one-to-one. And we're going to talk more about that later on in this chapter. Your homework for this one is pretty short. It does ask you some about domain and range, so remember Our domain, we're going to start with all real numbers. We're going to throw out anything that divides by 0 or causes a negative under a square root. And for range, graph it, okay? But we'll do some more of that when we talk about 3.2. Oh, I forgot I had one more graph here. Is this one, is it a function? Yes. Function, yes. Is it one-to-one? Also yes, because none of my horizontal lines are going to intersect in more than one spot. So this one, yes. Okay, and I think that's the end.